Kakadosh Boker Tov. We are going to be continuing today on Daf Ein Gimel Amud Aleph 73A1. So what we just spoke about yesterday at the end is that we said that a place which was fitting for Dira. Mekom Dira, we said, what is Mekom Dira? We said whether it's Mekom Pita where a person would eat, or Shmuel says a person where a person would sleep. Okay, so that's where they are going to be acquiring their, that's where his house is. So the Gemara asks, and this is where we're starting now on the second line of Ein Gimel Aleph. The Gemara says, Meit Vei. So we're going to ask the following question from a Braita: Haroim v'kaitzanim v'burgenim v'shomrei perot. Right, whether we're talking about the shepherds, kaitzanim are the people that they watch the figs to dry up in the fields. Burgenim are the people that are watching the fields and they live in little tiny huts. The shomrei perot, or they watch over the fruits in the field. All these people, they're outside of the city borders. However, though, they eat in their houses. So if they're going to sleep in the city, so then they're like the city. If they sleep in the fields, so then they have 2,000 amot. Right? They're not like the people of the cities. They have 2,000 amot from wherever they are. So therefore, you see from here that to do with the tchum of Shabbat, right? To do with the tchum of Shabbat, everything has to do with the actual where you sleep. Okay, so this is where we're starting today. Yeah, everyone back again, right? We're starting today from Ein Gimel Amud Aleph. We just finished by saying that you're asking a question and bringing a proof that where is the tchum of Shabbat? From where you sleep, not from where you eat, but rather from where you sleep. And the proof was here, the Roim, Kaitzanim, Burganim, Shomrei Perot. If they sleep in the city, they're like the city. If they sleep outside, they sleep where in their job. So that's what there is. So the Gemara says, no, nothing to do with the sleeping. There we are the witnesses to say that if we would bring them bread there, they would actually even be better there to eat it there. Right? So therefore, and they would actually eat and sleep there. So therefore, it's not to do with sleeping, it's maybe to do with the eating. The only thing is that they don't have the food there. Right? They couldn't take their lunches on the go. Okay? Amar Rav Yosef, says Rav Yosef, Lo shmiya li hashmata. I never heard this braita to do with that Rav says that the place of eating is what's kovea. It's what makes as you fix where you are to do with the tchum of Shabbat. Amale Abaye comes and he says, Atamar Dialan, you did tell it to us. Yeah, remember that when he became sick, he forgot all his learning. So if Abaye had to remind his rabbi of all the teachings. So Vahamar Talanu Nihalan. So you said it to us regarding this. Ha'achin sheyochlin shulchan avihen. What happens if you have brothers that they're eating on their father's table, but they sleep in their houses? Each one needs a separate eruv. So we asked you, Shema Mina comes out, that has to do with sleeping. So he told us, no. Amar Rav Yehuda Rav says of Rav, we're dealing with that they're not mamash eating on their father's table, but rather they're taking the food to their houses. Which means, for example, they go to their parents' house and they pick up the food. And then they go and they eat it in their houses. Once they're doing that, so therefore it has to do with the makom of the eating, not sleeping. But they're
just like the kinderlach do today.
Just like the kinderlach do today, exactly. Right? Where the parents will come and they'll buy, whether it's the meat, whether it's the this and that, and then they'll come and they'll take it to their houses. Other times, right, sometimes the kinderlach will actually come and eat by you. Right? But it all depends on circumstances. Okay? Fine. Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in a Braita. Mishi yesh lo chamesh nashim. Yeah, don't have any ideas. Richard, somebody that has 5 wives. Okay? So it says over here, Mishi yesh lo chamesh nashim. So now what happens is that each one is going to live in a separate house. Obviously, you're not going to put more than one woman in the same house, right? You don't want a hurricane in the house, yeah? Tornadoes. So what are you going to do? Each woman lives in a separate house in the same field. So obviously, we're not talking about you're going to have one wife here, one wife in I don't know where, right? They all live in the same courtyard.
We have the drawings here.
We have the drawings. 1 second, let me just share the screen.
But here is more wives. Doesn't matter.
There are more wives. Okay. This is a nice yeshiva. What is this? Where's this yeshiva?
It's on page 224.
Oh, but what's this yeshiva? I don't remember this yeshiva. What daf is this? Ayin Gimel Amud Aleph. We didn't get to this yeshiva.
No.
Hani b'nei Rav da'achli Nachman b'Baga v'atu b'Beitu b'Rav. We didn't get here yet.
No.
Where did you go then? Chamesh Chatzerot. No, but we don't have the women yet. Okay, fine. No, so there's no picture in this. Obviously, you remember, right? The worst, it would be like Amodia. If they wanted to show a picture of the 5 women, they would show 5 horses. Fine. Okay, let's go.
5 houses.
Yeah. Let me just make sure. Okay. So. Okay, let's continue. So basically, it goes like this. Yeah, I'm just going to stop the share until we get to this to the yeshiva part. So it says if somebody that had a 5 wives, mekablim pras mibalein, and all of them they get their food from their husbands and they eat in their houses. V'chamisha avadim, or the same halacha would apply to 5 servants, right? And each one they have a separate house. Mekablim pras mibalein, they get their reward from their master. Rabbi Yudam emetera matir. Right, so Yudam Beterai, he comes and he says he's going to be matir to carry in the chatzer, benashim, but he's going to be oser ba'avadim. Why? Ishto kegufo, your wife is like yourself, and therefore she has parnasah from the husband, so it's considered like one concept. However, though not your servants, right? That's this answer. However, though Rabbi Yudam ben Baba matir ba'avadim, and he prohibits from the wives. Why? He says the opposite. Hamsharatim, they're more attached to their masters because they're subjugated to him to do melacha at all times. However, though a woman is not, right? She's not mamash a slave to her husband, right? It's almost, but it's not exactly, you understand? Yeah, he's dreaming on his phone. So Amar Rav says, Mai ta'ama Rabbi Yudam and Baba. What's the reasoning of Rabbi Yudam and Baba? Tichtiv, as it says in a pasuk, Daniel bitra malka. Daniel was found in Shara Melech. So obviously, it wasn't that he was always there, but rather since he went to serve the king, it's ki'ilu that anywhere where he was, his makom was kavua to serve the king. Okay, so it says the Gemara Pshita, obviously, Ben etzel aviv k'damran, a son by his father, that's like just like what we just said before, right? That he doesn't have to do another eruv. Isha etzel balav evet etzel rabo, plukta Rabbi Yudam ben Rabbi Yudam ben Baba. So it comes out that a woman by her husband or servants by their masters is a machloka between Rabbi Yudam and Rabbi Yudam and Rabbi Yudam and Baba. So it means a son to a father, it's according to everybody. But the machloket is only the next case. So Talmid etzel Rabomai, what about a Talmid by his rabbi? So Tashima, we're going to try to bring a proof. The Rav Bey Rabbi Chia, when Rav learned in the yeshiva of Rabbi Chia, Amadi said, we don't have to do an eruv. Because we are supported by Rabbi Chia. Rabbi Chia ber Rebbe, and Rabbi Chia, when he learned in the house of Rebbe, the same thing. Okay, fine. So says the Gemara, comes Abaye and he tells Rabba. So I think now we went to the pictures. No? Not yet. Still not yet. Okay. So he says, right? Right? We said that if you have 5 different houses in one courtyard, and they come and they collect the eruv from everyone. If they're going to take it to another place in the courtyard, do they need one eruv for everybody, or every single person needs a separate eruv? Samale, he told them, one eruv is good for everybody. So ask the Gemara, one second, by the brothers, it's like they're all collecting together. And you still said that each one needs a separate eruv. So answers the Gemara, what are we dealing with? Where you have other people also with them. That means besides the brothers, you have other people, and they are prohibiting on the brothers to carry within them. Because since these people, they are osir on the brothers, so too the brothers themselves are going to be osir. You could also say that it's logical to say such a thing. If Tani was learned in a Mishnah, in our Mishnah, right? Interesting, right? He says, Ematai, when are these words? When you're going to take the eruv to another place. But if their eruv would come to them, right? Oshen diurin, or nobody else lives there, en tzechim larev, they don't need to do another eruv. Shema mina, and that's what we're learning from here. Okay, that means basically what's happening is that we can actually bring a proof from our Mishnah that the reason why, right? That there's such a concept of an Eruv Nifrad, a separate Eruv for every single person, is because there's other people that are obligating it. Just like what Rabba said, that if there I apologize, it crashed.
What crushed
The Zoom.
Don't worry.
Okay, so he says over here, what happens is that we're bringing a proof from here that it's only because of the other people that they're prohibiting on to everybody else. Okay? So now it says the Gemara, Ba mine Rav Chia bar Avi min Rav Sheshat. So Rav Chia bar Avi comes and he asks from Rav Sheshat, Bene berav, deach linama bebaga. So Talmidei Yeshiva, that they're eating bread in an achsanya. So what the Gemara is now saying is that when you have Talmidim of the Yeshiva, so it says that's here, Hani bene berav deach nama, that they were eating bread bebaga, that ubaite beberav. So basically, it says over here, what's happening is that they eat in an achsanya within the 2,000 amot of the yeshiva, but then they come and they sleep in the dormitory. So here, look, this is a beautiful yeshiva. Yeah, look at the beautiful yeshiva. Yeah, here you have, let's say, here's the dormitory, right? Here's a big yeshiva. Now they go and they eat within the 2,000 amot in the different places here. Everyone sees my picture. They're eating over here.
It's a complex.
A complex, yeah. So ki mashchina lehu tchuma. So we're going to come and measure the tchum. Iberav lo mashchina lehu. We're going to do it from the yeshiva, because that's where they sleep. Or mi baga mashchina, or do we do it from the place where they're eating? So again, the same question. What's the ikar? Where you sleep or where you eat? Yeah. So amalei. So he comes and he says mashchina iberav, from the yeshiva, from the place of sleeping. So it says the Gemara, vareno tenet eruvo b'toch hapayim hama. Says one second, but I thought that you put your eruv within the 2,000 amot. Vatu baiti bivete. And then they're coming to their houses to sleep on Leil Shabbat. You do it from the roof. So says the Gemara, in the case of giving over the roof, we are the witnesses. What is the machshava of the person putting the roof? And in our case also, we know what's the machshava of the Bnei Yeshiva, which means we know what the mindset is of each one. So therefore, it all depends on the circumstances. Okay, behahu. In the case where they're putting their eruv within the 2,000 amot, anan sadeh, we are the witnesses. Dimitar lehatam, as if it was possible to sleep there, he would have actually slept there. Uvehadam, and in the case of the Bnei Yeshiva, anan sadeh, we are the witnesses. That if they would bring the bread to the yeshiva, they would actually eat in the yeshiva. That means it's just impossible to eat in the yeshiva, but if not, they would eat in the yeshiva. It would be normal. They would be happier to eat in the yeshiva. Okay? So by Rami Bar Chama Rav Chasta. So asks Rami Bar Chama from Rav Chasta. Avuvno arav talmido. Whether it's a father and a child, or a rabbi and his student, that they're living together in the chatzer, right? And they're getting their parnasah from their rabbi or from their father, right? But they're sleeping in their own houses. So we have three sfekot, three doubts. Kirabim damu or kichidim damu. Are they considered the public and therefore they prohibit on each other? Or are they considered like individuals and they don't prohibit on each other? Yeah? By the way, you should know this exact same question is brought down to do with halakha al-maaseh. For example, let's say you have the Rosh and Rabbeinu Yerucham, his student, and they both hold of the same opinion. Are they considered two different opinions? Or are they considered one opinion because obviously the student should paskin like his Rebbe? Sometimes it doesn't always work like that, but I'm saying, it depends. Yeah? So question number 2, Tzechim Eruv or Tzechim Eruv? Do they need an Eruv or not? They're the only ones that are living in the courtyard. Do they need an Eruv or not? Number 3, Mavui Shelahen Nita Belech V'Korah or Nita Belech. Is there Mavui, right? One of them belongs, let's say one Chatzer belongs to the father. The other Chatzer belongs to the son. Or one to the Rebbe, one to the student. Is the Mavui, which is attached to both of their Chatzerot, is that going to be permitted with the Lechi or Korah, which means one or the other, the side beam or the top beam, or any Tab Lechi Korah, or maybe that's not, right? That you need, that it's not going to be permitted with the Lechi or Korah. So Amalei, so Rav Chasta comes and he answers to Rav Chama. Tinitua, we already answered this. Avuv no Rav Tamido, whether it's a father or a child, or the rabbi and his student, if nobody else lives with them, they are like individuals, right? Which means that it's like one thing. It's not that there are other people. There's nobody else. It's just him and them. And therefore, they don't need to do an eruv. Their mavui is going to be permitted with a lechi or a korah or. Okay? Until we were clear?
So far.
Baruch Hashem. Next.
That's good.
Sorry, I couldn't hear.
Yeah. Okay. I will just listen.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
very good. Perfect. Very good.
Thank you.
Next case. Mishnah. Bottom of Ayin Gimel Amud Aleph. Chamesh chatzerot ptuchot zu lezuv ptuchot lemavui. You have 5 courtyards that are open to each other. Look. 1 courtyard, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 courtyards open to each other. And they're all open. Here there's an opening. But each one of them is also opened. That's what it says over here. Each one of them is also open to the mavui. This is a mavui, and this is a reshut rabim. Okay? Eruv b'chatzerot. If right now each one did an eruv chatzerot, yeah, velo nishtatfu b'mavui, but they did not do shitufei mavuot, mutarim b'chatzerot v'asurim mavui. So they're all permitted to do. They're all permitted to walk around in the chatzerot, but they're not allowed to go in the mavui. Right? Again, when we say mavui, it means you're not allowed to carry in the mavui, not that you're not allowed to go in the mavui. You can go anywhere, as long as you're in the tchum of Shabbat. It just means
Well, how do they leave? How do they leave then?
without carrying anything, just like you leave your house on Shabbat.
No back way to exit from the back of the house, I guess, or no back exit.
No. There's nothing on the back of the house. Back of the house is closed, right? But no, the way that they leave is here.
They have a pool.
Yeah, John Jack says they have a pool in the backyard.
No, but they maybe could put a ladder or something to climb out.
No, okay, fine, but they could come out from the front door as well. Here they could also leave. This is the mavui. The only thing is that they're not allowed. But they're not allowed to carry in the mavui. You understand? Because they didn't do shituf mavot. Now it says here, right? Mutarim bechatzerot v'asurim b'mavui. Next part of the Mishnah, Ayin Gimel Amud Bet. Im nishtatfu b'mavui. If they did shituf mavot, so here they did eruvei chatzerot. You see eruvei chatzerot, they all did it here in this guy's house. The next case is in the mavui. So here they did shituf mavot. Remember that in this picture, it's always bread. I don't know if you could see the bread. It's very small. This is the bread in this window here. This picture, they're doing shituf mavot with yain, with wine, the barrel of wine, shituf mavot. So they're all doing it together in this guy's barrel of wine, and now they're doing shituf mavot, right? Now it says over here, kan vekan. So now they're allowed to do whether it's they're allowed to carry in the mavui or in the chatzer as well. Eruv b'chatzer, what happens if they did both? That means they did eruv chatzerot and shituf mavot, and one of them forgot and they did not do the eruv. Mutarin kam vekan, they're permitted in both. Right? Sorry, they're permitted in both. However, though, if one of the bnei avavui forgot and not one of the chatzer, velo nishtatef, and he was not mishtatef, mutarim b'chatzer, so then he prohibits unto them in the mavui, but they're only allowed to carry in the chatzerot themselves. Shamavui lechatzerot kechatzer batim, because the mavui to a chatzer is like a chatzer to the house. Which means just like you're not allowed to take from a house to a chatzer without an eruv, you're not allowed to take from the chatzer to the mavui without a shituf mavot.
But I thought we learned that there are some circumstances where you only have to make the one.
Yes, that's what we're saying. But here we're talking about that one person forgot. What you're talking about is that what happens if they did the ruvei chatzerot and didn't do shituf mavot, or they did the other one. But here one person forgot. So if one person forgot, he does prohibit upon the others, if you remember, to do with the mavui, but not to do with the chatzerot. Fine. Says the Gemara, Mani, who's the Tana of the first part of the Mishnah that said that if a person did uvei chatzerot and not shituf mavot, they're going to be permitted in the chatzer and not in the mavui. Rabbi Meir here, it's Rabbi Meir. The Amar Baz, he says, Ba'ina neruv, ba'ina shituf. You need both. Yeah, you have to do also uvei chatzerot and also shituf mavot, and that's why you need both. Ema metziata. Let's see the middle case. The middle case was if they did the shituf mavot, so now they're going to be permitted. Atal Rabbanan, that goes according to the rabbis, that you don't need to do both, that you only need to do one. The Amri Bechada Sagya, that it's enough one, not both. You don't need both Shitif Mevot and the Eruvei Chatzerot. So the question is, how could it be? The Reishas are Bimir and in the middle is Rabbanan.
So that's what I thought. I thought it was okay to do one.
Oh, so that's Shitat the rabbis. You think like the rabbis, Richard, right? But Rabbi Meir is the one that says that you need both. So answers the Gemara, Lokasha, it's not a question. Right? We're We're talking about v'im nishtatfu, right? That they did both. Not that they only did one. That they did both, and therefore the entire Mishnah is like Rabbi Meir, that he requires both. So says the Gemara, okay, fine. Now you answer up the Reisha in the middle case. What about the Seifa? The Seifa said, which was the third case, Ervu b'chatzerot, if they did Eruv b'chatzerot, and they did Shituf Mevot, but one person forgot. One of the Chatzer forgot. So he said, Mutarim, they're permitted in everything. Hey, Chidami, what's the case? If he didn't annul his property, why are they permitted? Ela pshita, but rather you have to say the batila. He did annul his property. So ema seifa, right? And let's say the seifa of the seifa, the latter part of the Mishnah, that if one of the people of the mavui forgot and they didn't do shittim mavut, so then they're allowed in the chatzirot, but they're asur in the mavui. V'id batil, if you're going to tell me that he annulled his property, amay asurim mavui. Why is he going to be prohibited in the mavui? And if you're going to tell me that he owes like a b'min, that there's no such thing as bitul reshut in the mavui, that you cannot annul your property in the mavui. Right? The Hatanya, we learned in a Braita, that you could be Mivatel Reshut. So he does hold that it does help to be Mivatel Reshut to do the Mavui, not only to do the Chatzer, Ela Pshit and Dulo Batil. Obviously, he didn't annul his Reshut. So, I mean, the Seifa Dulo Batil. So, if in the Seifa is talking about that you didn't annul the Reshut, so to the Reisha was that you didn't annul the Reshut. So, Reisha of a Seifa, you're going to tell me it's Rabbi Meir, in the middle case, then is Rabbanan? How could it be? So, answers the Gemara, no, you're right. The entire Mishnah is Rabbi Meir. The Tama Mayamar Rabbi Meir. So why did Rabbi Meir say that you need also Eruv, right, and also the Shituf? Shelo lishkach Torah Eruv bin Atirukot. That way you don't forget the concept of Eruv by the children. Meaning we don't want that our children should forget the entire concept of Eruvin. You understand? For example, I'll give you the example. Nowadays, if you right now go, right, let's say you live in a city in Israel where there's an Eruv, and all of a sudden you go out of Israel. Right, you were brought up in that city, and you didn't know about any other city, right? Do you think you're going to have a question about an eruv? You never knew that there was a concept of an eruv, right? Why? Because you were brought up with it. So all of a sudden, you don't understand. It's like, for example, let's say you live in Israel, and everything in Israel is usually yashan, right? The badat usually everything's yashan. Or you live in certain parts of England where a lot of things are yashan. You don't know about Yashan and Chadash because you're not accustomed to it, right? For you, everything's Yashan. You didn't even hear the concept because since everyone had kept it and you didn't even need to, it wasn't like, like only the from people keep it, not keep it. No. Everybody keeps it. It was automatically. You understand? And there wasn't like nowadays that they import so many things from whether it's from America, from other things. So therefore, people don't even realize. You understand? So you start talking about Yashan and they don't even understand where you're coming from. Yeah, I remember I went to a restaurant here in Miami, and the mashkiach comes and he starts telling me that he got semicha by one of the rabbis that used to live in Hollywood, and this and that. Okay, very good. I come and ask him, by the way, this is Yashan? No, ma pitom, akol tari. Yeah, just that way for people that don't understand Hebrew, right? I asked him, is everything Yashan? Yeah, is everything Yashan? Now, obviously, he's speaking to me in Hebrew, so I don't have to say Yashan, like for the Ashkenazim. Say everything called Yashan. Yeah, he tells, what are you talking about? Everything's fresh. What are you talking about? It's not Yashan, it's fresh. He didn't even know what he was talking about. He was gone. So I told him, no, Yashan mitzad kemach. He goes, no, but ze kemach tari, ze ba lifnei kama yamim. He didn't understand, and I had to explain to him. You understand? Like, yeah, the guy that was clueless. You understand? Fine. So it says over here, we don't want it to be forgotten from the children. The Hachan here, given the Ruba Eruvu, since the majority of people did do an Eruv, it's not going to forget. The majority of them, they already did an Eruv. One person forgot, so you're not going to make it. So Amar Rav Yehuda says, Rav Lotani p'tuchot zuluzu. We're not talking about that they were open to each other. V'chen Amar Rav Kana, so to Rav Kana, Rav Lotani p'tuchot zuluzu. Ikedam Rav Kana gufelo te p'tuchot zuluzu. Which means, okay, this is a case that one person forgot. The next picture. Here it is. Rav Lotani P'tuchot Zuluzu is this case. Look in this picture. That basically, according to Rav and all the other ones that we just mentioned here, it was not open in between each chatzer. So each chatzer was actually closed. You see here, each one is closed. And then the only ways to go out is through the mavui. So this is one entrance to the mavui, another one, but in between each chatzer, it's not like the previous pictures that in between each one you had entrances. Here, this picture is much more clear, but there's not enough. You see each one. You see entrance. Okay, fine. So says the Gemara, Amar le Abaye le Rav Yosef. Says Abaye to Rav Yosef, yeah. Why didn't we learn them that it's open to each other? Because according to him, if right now you did not bring in and out of the entrances of the mavui, it's not called shituf mevot. Which means if I could bypass the mavui, which is a thoroughfare, and go through the chatzerot, through the courtyards, so therefore you cannot call that a shituf mevot. Shituf mevot has to be that we went through the mavui, not that we went through the chatzer. Rover chatzerot you could do, but not shituf mevot.
Well, how you in this picture right here? There's no way out except through the mavoi.
Exactly. That's what you need in order to do shituf mevot, according to what we just said.
Well, before we had exits from one courtyard to another, but there was no back.
But that's this shita. This shita, Rav holds that if you take it through the courtyards and you do not go through the mavui, you cannot do shituf mevot. And this opinion is saying, because of that, that's why you had to close off every connection in between the chatzerot, in between the courtyards. Okay? I can't hear you, Richard.
What's the difference if the courtyards are open one to the other?
Because that's what we just said. According to Rav holds that if you do shituf mevot, remember, shituf mevot, you're not connecting the chatzerot, you're not connecting the courtyards, you're connecting the mavui to everybody.
Right.
So he holds that if I did a shituf mevot, which means I did like an eruv for the mavui, but I didn't take it through the mavui, I took it between the chatzerot, that's not called shituf mevot. Shituf mevot has to come directly from the chatzer to the mavui, and it has to go through the mavuis. So if there's a connection
in the mavui on a post or something, or do you put it on the mavui?
No, it goes into a house, into one of the courtyards, but it has to come through the mavui. Here, each one of them in these previous pictures, if you paid attention, every single one, nobody came through the mavui. They all went directly through the chatzers. And
yeah, but in order to leave, to go the worker to go to the field, they have to go on the mavoi.
Yeah, but they don't need to do an eruv to that. If I have to go to work, or I'm not going to work on Shabbat, this is on Shabbat. So let's say I'm going to the Bet Knesset. So I'm going to leave this chatzer to go through the mavui, to go to Reshut Rabim, to go to the Bet Knesset. Right? But when I'm going there, right there, but where did I do the eruv? In this picture, everybody did the eruv chatzerot through the chatzer. That's perfect. But how do we do the shituf mevot? In this picture, also the shituf mevot came through the chatzerot, and you can't do that according to Rav. It has to come through the mavui, meaning that when this guy is going to come and bring his wine to here, he has to come through the mavui. He cannot come through the chatzer. That's according to Rav. Rav says that if you do shituf mevot, it has to come through the mavui, meaning you have to transport your wine by the mavui in order to do a shituf mevot. According to the other opinion, you didn't need to do that. So 8 ways, so they're going to ask the following question. If you have a balabait that he was a partner with his shchenim, okay, each one had wine, and they don't need to do it, but since he was already a partner with his neighbors in the wine, they don't have to do another shituf, right? Another shituf mevot. So says the Gemara, hatam de abki v'aile. There we're talking about that they actually purchased it. They came in and out of the chatzer also to the mavui. So again, they actually did go through the mavui. How do you do a shituf mevot? Hatamnam de abki v'aile. So too, it has to be done through in and out of the mavui according to the shita. So Matkif Rav Hanan asks Rav Hanan. He comes and he says, he's going to acquire bread right in his basket. So it's not going to be considered shituf. If you're going to tell me that's what it is, says Rav. You have people that are coming before Shabbat and they want to eat in the middle of the Suda. Right? So the bread which is on the table, they could use it as a ruch chatzerot. And some people say shituf. And Rabba says lo pligi, they're not arguing. Here we're talking about that they're eating in the house, and here they're eating in the chatzer. which means that since the bread is in the chatzer, you could do a shituf and not an eruv. Right? Because the shituf, you could also put it in the chatzer. Okay? So Ela Tama de Rav, rather the reasoning of Rav is the kasavar, because he holds en mavui nitar belechi v'korat shiu batim chatzor b'tuchot v'chod. The mavui will never be permitted. Where's this picture? This is Ayin Gimel Amud Bet. No, we didn't get to it yet. This is Tosfot. Sorry. Here it is. Is this picture? Okay, this picture is en mavui nitar belechi v'korat shiu batim chatzor b'tuchot v'chod. This is mavui. One thoroughfare, another thoroughfare, chatzer, 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 chatzer. The mavui is not going to be permitted with a lechi, and there's a korah. The korah is the top beam. The lechi is a side post. So the side post or the korah, it will not permit the mavui unless you have a chatzerot open into it. You need one chatzer here, one chatzer here. You have two chatzerot open into a mavui in order to carry.
What would you need? Gates that open and close?
No, you don't need the gates in open and close.
No, if you don't have all chatzerot open, I assume you could put doors on it that you could open and lock and open.
That for sure, you could always do that.
Okay.
What we're trying to say though is that here we're only going to permit or a lechi or a korah or a side post or a top beam. Only going to permit it until you have two houses, right? Achiu batim, houses, and chatzerot. You need houses plus chatzerot open into the same mavui. Okay? Now, what's going to happen now, for example, if you have it, that they're connected? Meaning like this. Let's pretend that this was connected. So if it's connected and they could bypass the mavui, so then in such a case, we don't say that. Because if you could bypass, that's what we're trying to say. We're trying to say that a mavui has to have that the chatzers are open to the mavui, and there's houses in the chatzer. So Gufa Amar Rav says Rav, en mavui nita belechi v'korah, right? It's not going to be permitted with a lechi or korah. Says Ayin Daled Amud Aleph 64a1, ad shiu batim v'chatzerot ptuchin letocho, until you have houses and chatzerot open inside of it. Ushmuel Amar and Shmuel says, afilu baitecha v'chatzer echad, even if you have one house without a chatzer, or one chatzer without a house, Rabbi Yochanan says even churba, even if you have like a ruins, right? Also, it's going to be permitted. Okay, so Amalei, I don't know if we have pictures of that. No. So Amalei.
I have a picture.
Yeah, there is a picture here. Sorry, there's a picture. Right? Baitecha v'chatzer echad. You see, look, one house and one chatzer. This is the house and a chatzer. Here, this house does not have a chatzer. Right? Or the churba. This is Rabbi Yochanan, the destroyed house here. Everyone can see it?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Rabbi Yochanan says even the churba. You see? Okay. Amalei by Rabbi Yosef says about Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yochanan says Rabbi Yochanan, even if you're going to have a shvil, which is like a row of vineyards. That's this picture. You see the vineyards? Here they are. So Amalei says Rabbi Yosef to Abaye, Lo amar Rabbi Yochanan al b'churba dechaz yidei. He said no. He only permitted a churba because you could live in a churba. But nobody could live in a vineyard. So no. So Amar Ravuna bar Chinana says Ravuna bar Chinana. Rabbi Yochanan Tamein. Rabbi Yochanan goes according to his reasoning. The Tanakh was learned in the Mishnah. Whether we're talking about the roofs, the karpifot, karpaf, remember is the storage houses of wood and things like that, or a chatzer, it's all one reshut for all the kelim which are inside of it, but not for the kelim that were inside of the house. The Amar Rav says, but that's if they didn't do an eruv. Okay? Aval eruv, but if they did do an eruv, we make a gzira, maybe you're going to take out from the house to the courtyard. And Shmuel says, ben eruv, whether they made an eruv or not, the Rabbi Yochanan, so too says, Rabbi Yochanan lecha k'b'shimon ben eruv. Whether they made an eruv or not, the lecha zek Rabbi Yochanan. So says the Gemara Alma. So you see from here, lo gazrina, we do not make a decree to take out utensils from one chatzer to another chatzer. Din ma'ati lapuke maneh debatim lechatzer, that maybe we're going to take out from the houses to the chatzer. Hachanami, so too here, lo gazrina, we should make a decree. Din ma'ati lapuke maneh de chatzer a churba. Maybe you're going to take something out from the chatzer to the churba, right? To the destroyed house. So Yativ Rav Runa, so Rav Runa was sitting. The Kamal Hashmata was saying this praita, right? That basically that a mavui is going to be permitted with a lechi or korah, even in one house and one chatzer. Amar le Rabbi Elazar says Rabbi Elazar, but Berav, Talmid Yeshiva, right? Yeshiva student. Amar Shmuel Hachi, does Shmuel actually say this? Amalei, he said, yes. Amalei, he said, Ach v'le shvuzeh. Show me where Shmuel is, because I want to ask him. Ach v'le, so he showed him. Yeah, Ata lekem Shmuel, he came from Shmuel Amalei, and he told him, Amar Mor Hachi, do you really say this? Amalei, he said, yes. But you were the one that said, En lanu Eiruvin, that you only go according to the Mishnah. That the mavui is to the chatzer, just like a chatzer is to the houses, which means that a mavui is to the chatzer, just like the chatzer is to a house. And therefore, how are you going to come and say that all of a sudden now you're allowed to come and carry? Ishtik, he kept quiet, because it was actually a good question. So the question is, okay, fine, he kept quiet. Does that mean, does he accepted it or not? Which means sometimes you keep quiet because you just don't want to answer. But sometimes you keep quiet because be'emet, maybe it's actually a good ta'ana. So did he accept it or not? So Tashma, we're going to try to bring a proof. There was a mavui that Ervut bar Ihi was living there. Okay, or avua, whatever it is. Avale lechya. So he made a lechi. V'shar le Shmuel, and Shmuel came and he permitted it according to his reasoning. Ayin dalad amubet. Rav Anan, right? Ata Rav Anan came. V'shadye. And he took down the lechi. Yeah, Amar, he said, right, the mavui that I'm living in it, the atina, and I'm going to come and fix it. Shmuel. Neti Ravana barav and ishte. He's going to come and he's going to take it away from us. Shmamina lo kibule mine. So it comes out that he didn't actually accept it, which means Shmuel did not accept the words of Rabbi Lazar and he didn't retract. But rather, until the end of his life, he still said that even though, right, there's not between the two chatzirot and each one of them two team, it's still going to be okay. So says the Gemara, no. Maybe I'm going to tell you, he did accept it. And over here, it was a shamash bet knesset that he was eating in his house, right? And then he went to sleep in his bet knesset, which means, look here. Here you have the synagogues. In a lot of synagogues, they used to have a house right beside it or on top of it. In Gibraltar, there's still like that until today. There's a house right beside it or on top of it, and that's the house of the chazan. That belongs to the chazan. Okay? So therefore, that's where he's eating. Yeah, that's where he's eating and everything. That's right, that's where he's sleeping. So here we're talking about that he ate somewhere else and he slept over there. So says the Gemara, okay, ve'evut bar ihi, savar mekom pita garim. So he holds it, it depends where you eat. Wherever you eat, that's where it is. Ushmuel etamen. Shmuel says, no, it goes where you sleep. So since you sleep by the Bet Knesset, that's where it is. So Amar Rav Yehuda Rav says, what happens if you have a mavui that one side is a goy and one side is a Jew? That's this picture. Right? This picture here is a Jew, here's a goy. Two sides of the mavui. This is the mavui, and this is public domain. Public domain, mavui, goy, Jew. So you cannot do an eruv from the chalonot. To come and to do it, to permit it. Okay? Do we even apply that to a chatzer? Amalei, in yes. The same halacha would apply to a chatzer, which is over here. Derech chalonot. This is the mavui, the Jews, and the goy. So here they're allowed to do it. Right? Here to here is a sur, but here to here is going to be permitted. Okay? So he says, Dilo Amar, because if he didn't say it, what's halacha? Hava mina tamed Rav. I would have thought the Hava mina of the reasoning of Rav is Mishun Niksavim Avodim Tabelech Vekurat Sheish Batim Chatzerot to the Chato. I would have thought that you need houses and the Chatzerot to be open inside of it. So Tarte Lamali, why do I need both? Tzricha, you need it. The Imeahi, because if you're only going to come in and tell me the halacha from Rav, right? Hava mina, I would have had a Hava mina. Ainhei Amud Aleph 75A1. Dirat Tovei Kochavim Shema Dirat. It's considered a house. Kamashmalan comes teach you the Dirat Tovei Kochavim Lo Shema Dirat. It's not considered a house. And if it's going to be from the other case, Hava mina, I would have thought to say Lo Yadana Batim Kama. How many houses do you need? Kamashmalan comes to teach you Batim Tren that you always need 2 houses minimum. Okay? So Hashtadam Rav Afilu B'Chatzer Tamad Rav de Katsavar Sulah Sudiachim B'Kom V'Dechovim. If you're going to tell me now that the reasoning of Rav is going to tell you is because he holds that even for a yachid to live with by himself with a goy, it's not going to be good. So Amar Rav Yosef says to Yosef, if so, Hainu T'Shamei Le'Rab Tavla. That's what we heard from Rabbi Tavla. De'amar oved kochavim trezimne. That it says twice oved kochavim. But we didn't know what he mentioned. But now that you just said that Rav was the one that said his deen to do with the oved kochavim pamayim. One of them is to do with a mavui, that one side is a Jew and one side is a goy, and one of them is to do with a chatzer, that one of them is a Jew and one of them is a goy living in the same chatzer, because we didn't want that as well. Okay, B'ezrat Hashem, tomorrow we continue. But Baruch Hashem, we already finished tomorrow's daf. So